I am a college student, and in high school I dated John. I tried to break up with him over Christmas break this year, but he said he wouldn't let me. That we had a future together and that I'd recognize my mistake in a few weeks. I told him that I'd realized I'm a lesbian, and I was sure. He just wouldn't accept it and said that we would talk again in a few weeks. Afterwards, I had gotten texts every few days from John telling me he loved me forever. I texted back the first few times saying we were broken up, but he just didn't want to hear it. Then, one day, I was studying in my college dorm and I hear a knock on my door. It was my RA, and she said that my boyfriend was in the lobby. It didn't even occur to me that it was John. My college is several states away and he has no car. I said that he must have the wrong person. She said, actually, he said your full name and he's being kind of belligerent with the guard, saying he traveled from my home state to see you. I was like, holy shoot, no. You can't let him in. I broke up with him and he won't leave me alone. I had no idea he was coming over here, let alone showing up unannounced. I need to study for an exam tonight. I was honestly panicking and she could tell. She said she would handle everything. I should just stay in the dorm and study. I'd be safe there and she'd make sure of it. I thanked her profusely. I tried to put it out of my mind and study. My phone had already been on Don't Disturb, and I kept it that way, and I just studied all night. I was wondering what the frick had happened, but I also knew how important the exam was going to be and that I needed to focus. I didn't check my phone until I'd finished my exam the next afternoon. I knew whatever I saw might upset me. And when I finally took it off Don't Disturb, I had a lot of messages from John. He first said that he'd come to visit me and showed he wanted to work on our relationship troubles. Then he was saying the guard wouldn't let him in and could I answer my phone. Then angry texts saying, "Did you call freaking security on me?" And then a bunch of texts saying he was here with no car and no money and nowhere to stay, and he was staying up all night in a gas station because he had nowhere else to go, and he thought the employees would kick him out soon. Then a really angry text saying his mom had to give him the money to get a sooner flight home, and now she might not be able to make rent. He was furious we spent 4 years together and I'd leave him out to dry when he came to try and work things out. I feel conflicted. I didn't want to be with him, but maybe I could have helped him at least find a place to sleep till his return flight, like ask my guy friends if he could sleep in the guy's dorm. I have 2 friends whose roommates dropped out leaving spare beds. Am I the a-hole for not talking to my boyfriend when he showed up uninvited after I tried to dump him? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. This flag is so red that it's on fire. He's being out of line completely, and you should completely cut contact with him. Let your friends and family know that you feel threatened by his behavior and remove him from all your social medias. This is clearly very difficult for him, but the way he's behaving right now could escalate very quickly to a dangerous situation. You broke up with him for a valid reason. You dated through school as teenagers, and you both need to move on, which he clearly can't do if you're giving him any contact. Nope, you did everything right, not the a-hole. Your reasons, be they orientation, you didn't want to date long distance, just wanted to move on, it was Tuesday, whatever they are pretty immaterial. You broke up with this dude. That he showed up like this, not good. I'm glad that your college has decent security like this. I'm not one for blaming media, but there does seem to be this propensity for decades and decades in movies, books, TV, whatever, for this dramatic gesture to win over the girl and they live happily ever after. I mean, what did he think would happen? He's going to do some sort of John Cusack boombox moment and you will melt into his arms? That he drove however many states speaks to a level of dysfunction that he really needs help with. That's crazy stalker mode. That's like that astronaut lady driving 1,000 miles in her adult diapers mode. You are absolutely right to protect yourself. He's not doing this out of love, he's doing this out of mental dysfunction. Update. Everyone who's commented so far has been saying I did the right thing and have nothing to feel guilty for, which is really kind and I appreciate, but I guess I still feel guilty and feel like I have something to get off my chest about what I did wrong in the relationship and in how I ended it. I honestly do feel kinda bad because I insisted to him and everyone else for years that I was straight. Even in my own head, I was in denial. I knew I was attracted to women since my early teens, but I tried to convince myself that I was bi. Because if I was bi, at least I could pass as straight in my hometown, which was really not accepting. I really wanted to believe I could be attracted to men, and I feel like I led him on by doing that. I only felt comfortable to come out as bi when I was in college and found a group of really wonderful accepting friends, many of who are LGBT themselves. Then came out again as a lesbian once my friends had helped me come to terms with that. But all that was happening within my friend group at college, and I can see how jarring and unbelievable it could be to hear that your straight girlfriend of many years went to college for a semester and became a lesbian, and how he could believe it as a phase or I'm confused. I feel guilty for that, honestly. My wife is my best friend. We game together, we hike together, we play D&D with our friends once a week together, and we're expecting our first kid soon. Overall, I'm over the moon. Obviously though, we spend a lot of time together, so I guess I could see how maybe my perspective is skewed on what's appropriate, so I'm posting here. A few months ago, one of our mutual friends fell on hard times. His long-term partner kicked him out, he's been laid off almost a year at this point, etc. He asked if he could stay in our guest room for a few weeks. Wife and I agreed. A few weeks turned into a few months. No big deal, but we're getting a bit antsy to have our space back. We told him he needs to be out in 2 months though, because we'd like a little baby moon before our child gets here. Since my wife and I got together, we've been a daily intimate kind of couple, also through pregnancy. I know this is too much information, but I just want to explain this isn't a fetish thing. We did it daily for years before pregnancy, and it's continued. I'll admit, I do find it very sexy she is carrying our child, but I've always found her sexy. Well, last night our friend tripped the shutoff in his bathroom. It has one of those moisture shutoff things, you don't need to reset the breaker but reset on the plug, and came up to ask us how to get the lights back on. I guess he was right outside our door and listening to see if we were still awake and heard us. This morning he sat us down and said he was really uncomfortable to know we were doing that while he's in the house. I pointed out to him that some days he doesn't leave the house at all, most days if we're being honest, so it's kind of inevitable. His room is also on a whole different floor. He then said for the next 2 months he will go for a walk once a week so we can if we must. I told him that wouldn't work because it's a daily thing. He then got very upset and demanded to know if it was true we'd done this every day for the 3 months he's been living here, and said with my wife's condition he wouldn't have expected that and that I was a pervert. He then went on to say that we are both pervert for doing that while he is here, and that we violated his consent. I told him to find a new place to stay then. He told some people about the exchange, and while most people have said he's being childish, others have also said me kicking him out 2 months earlier than we said over it is extreme. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He's a freeloader, and now he's making demands and pushing his beliefs onto the two of you. Sounds like he's more than worn his welcome out. For the people who make comments about you kicking him out early, remind them that the original was that he was going to be staying a few weeks, which has long passed, and that the two of you were trying to be nice and was planning on giving him 2 months to find his own place. But under no condition are you going to allow anyone who's visiting, staying over, much less someone who's been freeloading for months, to make demands on how we live our lives. And no way in hell are they going to be welcome to stay a day longer. After they have the gall to say that what we were/are doing in our home is wrong and then calling me a pervert. If you don't agree with what we are doing, then you are free to offer him your place to stay at, since he is definitely needing some place to stay, because he's no longer welcome to stay at our place. You tried to be nice, and this hopefully now ex-friend overstepped boundaries, made demands, and then offended you. You don't owe him anything, and you now probably understand why his long-term partner kicked him to the curb. There is absolutely nothing wrong with getting busy during pregnancy. There may be some things that you might have to change as her belly gets larger, but that's pretty much the only real concern for normal/healthy pregnancy. If anything, this so-called friend is a pervert for standing at the door and listening to the two of you getting it on. The adult thing to have done would be to just wait till the next morning to get the light in the bathroom reset. Heck, most people in this situation would just use the light from their cell phone so they could see enough to get things done, because that's what people do when there is a power outage. I hope this made sense and was helpful. I do hope that you are able to get your space back quickly so that you can get your baby moon and get your freak on without having to worry about a house guest who's long overstayed their welcome. Best wishes and good hope to both of you as well as the friend going forward. Be strong, be safe, and be well. Okay, so I, female 22, have an older brother, 28, that we'll call Jamie. We've been roommates since I was 17. In that time, I've seen a lot of girls come and go, even when he was in a relationship with different girls. I'm not a huge fan of his actions or how he treats women in general, but it's his life and he's free to mess it up as much as he wants, so I turn a blind eye to it. He has 4 kids. His oldest daughter is 10 and is the only one that he actually pays any child support on, but he rarely sees her. The other 2 are twin boys, 4, that he has with one of my close friends. She didn't take him to court, so I do my best to provide for them if she needs help. His son I don't really know much about. I think he's around 8. He doesn't want kids and doesn't see them but maybe a handful of times around the year, and doesn't see his 8-year-old son at all. He calls the ones he has accidents, and has said before that he wishes he hadn't had them because he gets irritated when their mothers call him. So essentially what happened was 3 years ago, Jamie met a girl named Natalie, and they immediately hit it off. She's moved into our apartment, and I like her well enough. With his habits, I didn't expect her to last long, but she surprised us both. Since I planned on moving out in a few months, she'd been talking about renovating my room and all sorts of stuff they could do with the space. She even laughingly said that maybe it could be a nursery. I thought it was a joke and brushed it off. Well, a couple weeks ago, while I was out at dinner with my friends, he had decorated the apartment and proposed to her. I congratulated them and didn't have any problems with this until a few nights ago, when we were all drinking and talking. Natalie was gushing about her plans for the wedding and her bridesmaids and her new ring. Here's what went wrong. She mentioned how she wanted kids as soon as she could and how she could see my brother being the best dad. I started laughing. Basically, what I said was, he hasn't been the best dad for the 4 he has now. She asked what I meant and my brother started to freak out. I realized she didn't know and explained how he wasn't raising his kids and how he didn't even want to see them and didn't want kids at all. Apparently, he hadn't told her about any of this. My brother was drunk and started yelling, so I called a friend and left. I stayed away a day or 2 and he blew up my phone. I guess he and Natalie are fighting horribly and he blamed me for it. I ruined his engagement and I'm an a-hole for telling her, as it should have been his choice to tell her about the kids. Our parents agree with him and haven't been talking to me. Honestly, I feel like I warned her before things got too serious, even if it wasn't deliberate. He should have told her before about them. So am I the a-hole here? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole, you absolutely did the right thing. Number 1, regardless of how he is a dad, he messed up by not telling her. He lied to her about the nature of their relationship for 3 years, even though they had a commitment. If they're serious, she must know. He didn't let her, so you did. Number 2, he's a dad and a crappy one. If Natalie plans on having children with him, she should know that, because he's gonna be no different to their children. Number 3, Jamie has been horrible to his children. He's irresponsible. 4 accidents? Really? Refuses to take accountability both legally and emotionally, and has neglected the kids for most of their life? That's not exactly someone Natalie wants to have children with, right? He probably knew she'd back out if he told her. This is a situation where you didn't ruin it, he did by not doing X, Y, and Z himself, means literally. If he was just a dad and not a horrible one, she could have stayed with him even after she knew. There are plenty of people who chose to stay with their partner knowing said partner has children elsewhere. It's not the knowledge itself, it's the fact that he lied. I, female 31, married my husband, male 35, when I graduated from college, and he was well within his career. We both have good degrees and live in SEA country. I always wanted to pursue an academic career and wanted to pursue my PhD for a good reputable European or American university and never got to that. My husband decided that he wanted an academic career too and decided to pursue that. He already had his master's, so he went for a PhD in USA, and he was living at a very low paycheck and well beyond his means. He had some savings from working in a corporate setting, so he was able to live off of that too. I did my master's at my home country while working at a well-paying job and saved a lot. We do live in a traditional household, so I was living with his parents and have no expenses. This is how it is in my country. After wedding, you are expected to live with your husband and his parents or wherever your husband allows. After my master's, I got a very good opportunity for a PhD with a really good grant. I was still freelancing, so I had good money. He came back to the country and basically had no savings and I at this time bought a house. He was aware of the purchase, and I bought it to rent it out, with no intention of moving in, and started making good money on the rent. I always wanted to do something good for my parents because my father was very poor in the beginning, but he still provided me with excellent opportunities. So I purchased an apartment, nicer to what my parents live in, and told my parents to rent their current apartment to generate more monthly income for them. My husband was not aware of this setting. Well, that cat got out of the bag. My husband's parents are furious with me because I have done nothing for them. I give his mother monthly allowance for fun money and pay for the maid that does the housework. And my husband basically has no savings and no assets. I told him it's not my fault. He demanded to evict my parents, and I told him to kick rocks. He then asked me to put his name on the house deed, and I wasn't thrilled to do that as well. He told me that this means divorce, and I told him we don't live in the US. I will still own everything, and he will have to pay my father the dowry he owes. His parents asked to let them live in the house I own, and it's currently bigger than what we live in. I said no to that because that will mean cutting off a decent chunk of my monthly income. I do feel bad about the situation, but feel justified in my reasoning. If I put his name on anything, I will have to share. I am willing to share the monthly income, but he doesn't want that. I do carry his and mine expenses, but that's about it. I am willing to save and buy his parents something, but that will have to be in my name. So am I the a-hole for not telling my husband about my gifts to my parents and not giving him any assets? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband cannot live past not being the breadwinner of the family. Please do not put anything in his name. He will transfer it or kick your parents out. You gave his parents money, so you are covered as he did not have money when he was studying. Now that he has moved back, you still provided. He needs to earn his keep.